Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today we have a special day today. We'll be doing after class by Nanda Braj Prabhu. We will have Gundicha Marjana from 9 to 1 p.m. here in the temple. And then after that, there'll be some kirtan going on in the temple room. We also have a nice program at Krishna House today from 4 to 5, welcoming their 1-year anniversary of welcoming Gorni Tai into the Krishna House. And then at 5:15 p.m., we'll have a special class today by Dwarkadish Prabhu, who's visiting Dallas. And then we'll have our normal Sunday feast program celebrating Ram Nomi today as well. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Radha Kalajanji ki jai.
If we can all welcome back our most wonderful temple president, Nrsingarupa Prabhu. I'm guessing like me, all of you were missing him in our hearts, and very glad he's returned. Or you're going to run away. Like our Lord Ram. Waiting for your return. How do you? I'd like to apologize to everybody for that rendition of Yashodamati Nandana. I appreciate it, Mother Kunti. This shows your magnificent quality to take even the littlest thing and magnify it. I appreciate that. But I will take responsibility and tell you I will improve by practicing at home. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam class, let's go. My computers. We are reading out of Canto 4. Let's see if I can get my computer working. So we can it's chapter 14, and we are focusing on verse 20. Let me see what verses we're going to cover today. We're going to cover verses 14 through 28. Yes. Canto 4, chapter 14, verses 14 through 28. And we'll be focusing on verse 4, 14, 20. And today's topic is influence. Are you a good king or a bad king? Or a bad queen? Okay. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Jaya Radha Madhava Sri Radhe. Jaya Radha Kalashanji Sri Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Shri Radha Kalashanji ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We can read the next couple verses together, Sanskrit and English, please. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta preya shabreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasoke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gantamarandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshuranmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances to him. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's turn to Canto 4, Chapter 14, Text 14. And if the first person can read texts 14 and 15, please.
The great sages said, "Dear King, we have come to give you good advice. Kindly hear us with great attention. By doing so, your duration of life and your opulence, strength, and reputation will increase. Those who live according to religious principles, and who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence, are elevated to the heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Being thus rid of the material influence, they achieve unlimited happiness in life." Jai.
So the sages here are approaching King Vena. In the previous chapter, or not the previous chapter, earlier in this chapter, they spoke in what way about the king? What were some of the things they mentioned?
He's cruel.
Very cruel, right? He's a nasty king. And so they decided they were approaching him now to try to persuade them. But they decided if they weren't able to persuade him, what were they going to do? What are they going to do? Kill him. They said, if he doesn't listen to us, he's done. So here we hear from Srila Prabhupada, or from Bhagavatam, that the king should be the leader of religious life. And 15 years is summary how a leader should head their government, and they should rule. So let's go to 16 and 17, please.
The sages continued, "O great hero, for this reason you should not be the cause of spoiling the spiritual life of the general populace. If their spiritual life is spoiled because of your activities, you will certainly fall down from your opulent and royal position." The saintly persons continued, "When the king protects the citizens from the disturbances of mischievous ministers, as well as from thieves and rogues, he can, by virtue of such pious activities, accept taxes given by his subjects. Thus a pious king can certainly enjoy himself in this world, as well as in the life after death."
So the sages are here saying that you shouldn't spoil the citizen's spiritual life. And so my question is, how could the king be the cause of spoiling citizens' spiritual life? Preventing fire sacrifice. Yeah. And how is he acting himself? Yeah, he's cruel. How can you expect your citizens to live a spiritual life if you yourself are acting cruel and irreligious, right? So instead he should protect his citizens. Then the citizens are willing to give to the government in taxes, and the king can enjoy nicely, and the whole citizens, the whole world enjoys nicely. Okay, 18 and 19, please.
The king is supposed to be pious, in whose state and cities the general populace strictly observes a system of 8 social orders of Varna and Ashrama, and where all citizens engage in worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their particular occupations. O noble one, if the king sees that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original cause of the cosmic manifestation and the Supreme Soul within everyone, is worshipped, the Lord will be satisfied.
So the king should set up a system, right? A system where all of the citizens can participate in spiritual life through their occupational duties. So some people might have this job, or they might have this career, or this, but there's no excuse that somebody shouldn't be able to do their work or do their duty and progress in spiritual life. And this is the king's duty to set this up and make sure that it's going on nicely. He's meant to guide everyone to worshiping Krishna. That's in that way, Krishna will be very pleased for the king. Okay, the next person, can you read 20 through 22, please?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by the great demigods, who are controllers of universal affairs. When he is satisfied, nothing is impossible to achieve. For this reason, all the demigods, presiding deities of different planets, as well as the inhabitants of their planets, take great pleasure in offering all kinds of paraphernalia for his worship. Dear King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with predominating deities, is the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices in all planets. The Supreme Lord is the sum total of the three Vedas, the owner of everything and the ultimate goal of all austerity. Therefore, your countrymen should engage in performing various sacrifices for your elevation. Indeed, you should always direct them toward the offering of sacrifices. When all the brahmanas engage in performing sacrifices in your kingdom, all the demigods, who are plenary expansions of the Lord, will be very much satisfied by their activities and will give you your desired result. Therefore, O hero, do not stop the sacrificial performances. If you stop them, you will disrespect the demigods.
So, king sets up a nice system. Everybody engage in spiritual practices by their occupation and by their nature. Then there's nice sacrifices going on. And these sacrifices are meant for the pleasure of Krishna, right? And through any sacrifice, we understand that the demigods get their portion of it, right? So any sacrifice is done, Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary, but all the demigods also get their share. They get their little quota from it. And they become very happy. And when the demigods are very happy, they may start making a very nice situation in nature and for the citizens. And people are, the wealth of the whole entire land is nice and upkept. Okay, let's see what we got next here. 23 and 24, please.
King Vena replied, "You are not at all experienced. It is very much regrettable that you are maintaining something which is not religious and are accepting it as religious. Indeed, I think you are giving up your real husband who maintains you and are searching after some paramour to worship. Those who, out of gross ignorance, do not worship the king, who is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, experience happiness neither in this world nor in the world after death."
Wow. Right? What is King Vena's first words out of his mouth? You're all fools. Can you imagine that you have the tenacity to call a fool somebody whose their whole life is practicing Krishna consciousness? They're sages. Their whole life is pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they come and give you some advice and you say, "You fools." Not only does he say the fools, what else does he say? Yeah. Yeah. I'm the king. I'm your maintainer. I'm your Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you're looking after some side hustle. What? You should be worshiping me. This is the tenacity of King Vena. Audacity? Tenacity and audacity. Okay. The next person, please read 25 through 28.
You are so much devoted to the demigods, but who are they? Indeed, your affection for these demigods is exactly like the affection of an unchaste woman who neglects her married life and gives all attention to her paramour. Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Indra, Vayu, the master of air, Yama, the superintendent of death, the sun god, the director of rainfall, Kuvera, the treasurer, the moon god, the predominating deity of the earth, Agni, the fire god, Varuna, the lord of waters, and all others who are great, competent to bestow benedictions to or to curse, all abide in the body of the king. For this reason, the king is known as the reservoir of all demigods, who are simply parts and parcels of king's body. King Vina continued, for this reason, O Brahmanas, you should abandon your envy of me, and by your ritualistic activities you should worship me and offer me all paraphernalia. If you are intelligent, you should know that there is no personality superior to me who can accept the first oblations of all sacrifices.
So King Veda's pretty interesting, and he's kind of smart in a way because he's using some wordplay here. I'm figuring because he starts to say what? Actually, you guys are demigod worshipers. He turns it around on the sages and starts saying that they are worshipers of demigod. And who does he add in that list of demigods? Vishnu. He starts saying, actually, you're Krishna. Actually, your Vishnu is a demigod. And you're demigod worshipers. And you guys are foolish worshiping demigods. Instead, you should be worshiping the Supreme Personality. And who's that to King Vena? Him, right? He says, actually, you guys got this backwards. You worship me and I'll take care of the demigods. What tenacity and audacity, right? So who should they all worship? He says the king. And so we'll go to verse 20. And the topic of the class is influence, right? And what are you the king or queen of? Are you a good king or queen? Or are you a bad king or queen? What do you guys think King Vena is? Super bad. Wow. Tasmis tu stekim aprapayam. Tasmis tu stekim prayapayam. Jagatyam Ishvare. Jagatam Ishvare. Loka sapala he itasmai. Loka sapalya hi itasmai. Etasmi. Hirananti balyam adaryataha. Haranti balim adarataha. Tasmis tu stekim aprapayam. Jagatyam isvare. Lokya sapala he itasmai. Haranti balyam adarjataha. Please, Bolo. Tasmis tu stekim apramyam. Jagatam ishvare. Lokya sapalahi atasyasmi. Haranti balyam adratyaha. Tasmis tu stekim aprapyam. Jagatam ishvare. Loka sapalahi tasmi. Haranti balim adataha. Anybody else? One more? Okay, let's. Jagatam Ishvare Ishvare Lokasa Palahi Tasmahi Haranti Baliam Adrataha. Okay, before we go to word for word, any recognized words here? Oh, you cheated. Oh, get back. Loka. What's Loka? Planets, right? Ishvare, stream controller, right? Jagata, it must be universe, maybe something, some kind of, any other words anybody recognizes? Balim, strength, ooh. Okay, let's go to word for word and see how we did. Okay, all together, please. Tasmin, when he, to stay, is satisfied. Him, what? Aprapayam, impossible to achieve. Jagatam, of the universe. Isvare, the controller of the controllers. Lokaha, the inhabitants of the planets. Spalaha, with their presiding deities. He, for this reason, Itasmi, and to him, Henanti, offer. Balim, paraphernalia for worship. Adrata, with great pleasure. Balim is paraphernalia for worship, and we all understand that Lord Balaram is the paraphernalia of the Lord. I wonder if that's a connection there. Okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by the great demigods who are controllers of universal affairs. When He is satisfied, nothing is impossible to achieve. For this reason, all the demigods, presiding deities of different planets, as well as inhabitants of their planets, take great pleasure in offering all kinds of paraphernalia for His worship. Purport. In all Vedic civilization is summarized in this verse. Wow. All living entities, either on this planet or on other planets, have to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their respective duties. When He is satisfied, all necessities of life are automatically supplied. In the Vedas, it is also stated, Iko Bayumnam Yo Vi Dadatyati Kaman. Kata Upanishad 2:13. From the Vedas, we understand that He is supplying everyone's necessities, and we can actually see that the lower animals, the birds and the beasts, have no business or profession, yet are not dying for want of food. They are all living in nature's way, and they all have the necessities of life provided, namely eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Human society, however, has artificially created a type of civilization which makes one forgetful of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Modern society even enables one to forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead's grace and mercy. Consequently, modern civilized man is always unhappy and in need of things. People do not know that the ultimate goal of life is to approach Lord Vishnu and satisfy Him. They have taken this materialistic way of life as everything and have become captivated by materialistic activities. Indeed, their leaders are always encouraging them to follow this path, and the general populace, being ignorant of the laws of God, are following their blind leaders down the path of unhappiness. In order to rectify this world situation, all people should be trained in Krishna consciousness and act in accordance with the Varnan Ashram system. The state should also see that people are engaged in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the primary duty of the state. The Krishna consciousness movement was started to convince the general populace to adopt the best process by which to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus solve all problems. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada says all Vedic civilization is summarized in this verse. All living entities, either on this planet or on other planets, have to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their respective duties. When He is satisfied, all the necessities of life are automatically supplied. Is this amazing? Right? You just imagine the situation of our current situation. We can see how much we need to work on pleasing Krishna, right? The demigods down to the birds are being supplied by Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada mentions the birds and the bees, they have all of their necessities taken care of. And yet we're sitting there fighting, working so hard to figure out how we can live, comfortably. So some people call this, right, intuition. Oh, the birds, it's just nature. They just know how to fly south in a perfect way, and the salmon know how to go up the river in the same way that they came through when they were just little salmons. It's just intuition. But we understand as Vaishnavas that Krishna is in the heart of every living entity and giving them direction. So what's the difference between us and the animals, or the insects, or the trees, or these lower entities, or these entities are in lower bodies? What's the difference? Yes, what's the difference between us and them? Can you use the mic, please? Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Because the human birth is an extremely rare birth.
What makes it rare? What's the thing that we have over the other entities that are in lower bodies, like the animals and insects?
Well, we have our own free will, and the animals are kind of controlled by the super soul.
They're just
by God.
bound by nature's laws, right? They just do what. But we have our own free will in the sense of an intelligence, right?
Yes.
We can use our intelligence. And what can we use our intelligence for? To inquire, right? But even if we inquire, what can that intelligence do? We can inquire away from Krishna, or we can inquire to Krishna, right? And so we, as human society, cause so many problems for ourselves. So many problems that we forget about Krishna. We take to materialistic life, right? And when we take to materialistic life, we can understand that we are part of the problem. So King Vena, who's the king of his citizens and have so much influence, and we understand how much problems he can cause. And why? Because he's materialistic. He doesn't understand the goal of life. He doesn't understand who Krishna is. And so he causes problems. But we can see that the sages are saying, no, be the source of inspiration to go to Krishna. You have a chance to influence people. Don't do it in this way that takes them away from spiritual life. Do it in a way that brings them closer to spiritual life. So we can bring this to ourselves. I know none of us are kings or queens, but we also have our little influence, right? What is our influence, and how are we using it? If we're using it for materialistic life, then what are we doing to ourselves and to others around us? I ask that question to you guys. What do you think?
We're just going to keep on going, doing it over and over again until we realize.
We're just going to keep on doing it over and over again. Doing what? Materialistic life?
Reincarnating and being absorbed in materialism.
Antari, what do you think?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Whenever religious texts, and specifically the Srimad Bhagavatam, begins like speaking about a king, and in particularly whether this king is ruling well over his kingdom. I like to make the analogy that my personality, that myself as a living entity, is also in a similar position over the makeup of this body. Like the mind, my emotions. Am I allowing these emotions to like run amok and in my mind to just have intruding thoughts? They may not be in alignment with the supreme personality of Godhead. So I put myself in that position. Although we know that there is the supreme controller, Parameshvara, I am appointed by Parameshvara to rule this kingdom that is this body.
This is a good point. This is satisfying, right? I am a king. I am a queen of my own body, my own senses. And are you letting your citizens run free and doing all kinds of materialistic things? Are you leading, are you influencing them in a way that causes spiritual development? Are we guiding them to serve Krishna? And so, if we can't rule, if we can't influence our senses, our mind, our own free will to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we can understand that we are little Venas. We are causing so much amok amongst ourselves internally and in our little circle of influence. So, are you frustrated? Do you feel disrespected? Are you generally unhappy? Then you can start to think about, how am I ruling? How am I ruling my kingdom? Am I after materialistic life, or am I after spiritual life? And we can take responsibility, right? Are you encouraging spiritual life or material life within yourself and those people around you? And one way that we can, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, can find nice influence or find that happiness in Krishna consciousness is by engaging in the mission of Lord Chaitanya, right? So, you influence your senses, you influence your tongue, right? In the Nectar of Instruction, Srila Rupa Goswami encourages, is in his first instruction, he says what? Person who's sober can controls the tongue, the mind, and not yet, the mind and the actions of anger. And they are not influenced by the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals. And this person can do what? By the way, Rupa Goswami isn't saying go make disciples all the world. He says you're qualified to do so. So, if we control our senses so that we can always think of controlling, my false ego just popped in. If we control our senses so that we can serve Krishna, then we can just start to have more influence. We do whatever we can with the influence that we have to serve Krishna, and we gain more influence. And we can start to see that spreads throughout our life. Our senses start to engage more in devotional service. They start getting enlivened to serve the Supreme Personality. So we can start right now by becoming determined that somehow we will spread Krishna consciousness, that we will spread it within ourselves. We will control our citizens, our senses, our tongue, our belly, our mind, our actions of anger. And we'll start to serve Krishna in an unbelievable way. And this influence we will see will spread to others that come in contact to us. Yes, as devotees, we have no interest in followers or fame, but automatically it starts happening that people become influenced in certain ways because they can see that you have no desire for material gain above them. They say, oh, this person is simply just loving me unconditionally and wanting to give me the best. And so our lives change. Our perspective changes. our influence changes, and so we become happy. And so we can be a king that becomes happy in this lifetime, spreads happiness around us, and then in this life and in the next life, we can enjoy happiness. I'll open it up to questions, comments, and thoughts, please. Tulsi, Prabhu, please.
Hi Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for nice class. So I'm reading through King Vena's logic of why he finds fault with the Brahmanas, and I can't find fault with what he's saying. He's the king, and these Brahmanas are under his protection, and it's possible that they have some ulterior motive. And he's, he believes in himself, and he's protecting his assets. He's the son of a king. I can go on like on his side.
I guess I have a question then. Is King Vena says he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How do you see this?
Well, maybe that's one technical flaw, but
Okay.
but I mean, in general, he's convinced.
This is a good point, right? Because if we have the confidence of King Vena and the determination of King Vena, these are very nice qualities. However, he's got the one biggest thing backwards. He thinks he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead instead of he's the servant of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we're doing this too. We have good qualities. Each and every one of you has wonderful, amazing qualities. And we are seeing it as devotees because you're interested in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But every once in a while, right, we switch it in our mind and we forget that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we switch it to we are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then some anartas come up, right? So we should appreciate the good qualities in devotees. We should appreciate determination. We should appreciate peacefulness. We should appreciate so many qualities. And we should encourage them to use them in Krishna's service. And we do that by leading ourselves, and then through our words by glorifying Krishna. What do you think of that, Tulsi?
Great. The reason why I'm asking is because if you go in the world outside, there's such an emphasis on believing in yourself and in really being convinced if you don't love yourself, nobody else is going to love you. Forgive yourself. So it's just such an emphasis on the self.
Right? You're speaking to my nature. I also have a nature that's very some people might call passionate, which is okay. I'm okay with that. But I also am determined to develop my qualities. And we should be determined to develop our qualities. Why? Because these are gifts from Krishna. They're not yours. So we should be very enthusiastic to appreciate other people for the good qualities, while at the same time encouraging them to use them in Krishna service. Yes. Be loud and proud. Absolutely. I'm proud because I have these qualities that Krishna has given to me, and I'm using them in his service, and I know my humility is that I know he's given them to me. So this is the humility of the devotee. It's not, you please go through the door first. No, you please go through the door. No, you please go through the door. No, you go. That's not humility. Humility is knowing everything I have is Krishna's, and I should use it in full service of him to my best ability. So we also are in this movement of developing your good qualities, being a hero, being a king. Be king first be a Goswami, right? Be first of a king of your senses and your attitude. And then when you understand how, Krishna's giving you those, then spread this to other people. Yes. that okay? Or
I just wanted, this is a hot topic for me, that's why I'm like pressing on this. I mean, I really appreciate that, we're putting Krishna in the center. And sometimes in the education systems, they can't talk about God. And so all these qualities are being, said, you can do this, you can be this, but why? That why is missing.
yes. I mean, not just that, mindfulness is missing in our, like just simple, Srila Prabhupada said we have to be conscious before we're Krishna conscious. We don't even teach consciousness in our schools. We don't even talk about how to control your anger. He's like, just learn math, just learn science, just do this and everything will be okay. No. At least we can appeal to people's qualities of human qualities and this is the Varnashram Dharma, right? Our system is we're bringing people up, right? And our schools don't even bring people up. They actually are pushing them. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, we're pushing them down to be all Sudras, less than Sudras. So, yeah, it's very rough. Please, Mother Kunti. Thank you, Tulsi.
Tulsi I just want to elaborate a little bit more what she's saying. Although, and I appreciate her playing devil's advocate a little bit. I see that King Vena is completely demoniac and has to go. At the same time, I have so much respect for people who actually do take positions of leadership. Because everyone, it's like we're living in a society of all these, they call them sheeple.
Yeah.
They're not people, they're sheep.
Yeah.
And they're sheeple. And they put their heads down. Oh, keep my head down. Oh, no. Keep your head down. No. Don't raise it up. Shh. You get your head cut off.
With your head.
Off with the head. Because immediately you're afraid. You can't you don't want to take any responsibility. You don't want to get involved. You don't want to say. You don't want to speak up. You don't want to see something, say something. No one wants to because, oh, you're politically incorrect. Oh, you're a fanatic. Oh, you're a stupid religious fool. And that is modern society. And unfortunate as it is, it's like Mataji just said, you can't mention God in school. It's like the elephant in the room. I mean, so my hat's off to not the King Venas, but the people who are opposite of King Vena, who are quietly going about their leadership, servant leadership, and facilitating others to go forward. And that's it. Else? Ready?
I agree so much with you, Mother Kunti. You can feel when you have a good leader that you want to spend more time with them. You actually want to find some way, shape, or form, like how can I get close to this person? They're encouraging me, empowering me, and giving me enthusiasm to hold my head up high instead of holding my head down. And I'd like to say so many embarrassing things about Lord Nrsingarupa. I noticed out of the corner of my eye, right when you spoke, Mother Kunti, he put his head down. like I don't know if it was exactly a little bit of embarrassment, but I could feel in your heart maybe you were talking about your wonderful son. Who, yeah. Well, not. I let me adjust that. We can't help but think of your wonderful son, because he is doing this. He's leading us in a proper way, and you can feel it. You can feel inspired. You can feel. Go ahead, Rupa.
I was really appreciating the conversation and all of the points and about the key of, whatever we have, utilizing that in Krishna's service, whatever we've been given, whatever gifts we have. And yes, you can be very proud of those gifts that we have, utilizing them in Krishna's service. And I was thinking that the other part to that is because that can be, even that, right? we can say, oh, Krishna's given me these gifts, so I'm going to use them in his service, and then I'm going to run over people. But it's all in Krishna's service, right? Like even like we can, you know, and so I think the other part to that, and there's probably many parts to it, but is, are we, as much as possible in our capacity, trying to align ourselves with what does Radha Kalachandji want us to do with the gifts they have given us? What is Krishna's will, right? And to the degree that we are praying to be aligned with that, then we really are utilizing those gifts in Krishna's service, not in service of our own false ego, saying we're using them in service of Krishna, right? Like there's these fine distinctions that there can be within it. So, and I'm saying that because what I notice in my own life is, to the degree that I'm praying to be an instrument of Radha Kalachandji's will and mercy, to that degree I feel protected and safe in utilizing whatever gifts they've given me personally to serve. And to the degree that I forget that, and maybe I prayed in the morning and then I forget about it all day and then I remember at the end of the day. But if I'm not doing that throughout the day, then I start to, oh, did I do the right thing? Did I make the right decision? Did I utilize what Krishna gave me actually in his service, or was it in my service or in some kind of, you know? So I think there's a fine distinction there.
Yeah, there's a wonderful story we just got done with about Dhruva Maharaj. And he was following the instructions of his spiritual master. And our spiritual masters have given us an instruction to chant 16 nice rounds and follow 4 regular principles. And we can have great confidence that if we do this, if we get off, because we do get off. I hear you, that we sometimes we astray. If we come back and chant 16 nice rounds, Krishna will put us right back. He'll recalibrate us very nicely. And then those things that we're a little bit off, he puts us back, and we learn our lessons and move forward. So yes, yeah.
Yeah. Chaitanya Janaprabhu sent me these nice verses. We were talking about this topic. It's at the end of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 58. And the translation is, if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. And then the next verse I really appreciate is, if you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. So it's like we can do what we're doing. And in this case, Krishna is talking to Arjuna, right? And Arjuna is a warrior. He's a prince, a king, right? And he's going to fight anyway. And he can do that for Krishna because Krishna wants him to do that. Or he'll do that anyway because that's his nature. And that fine distinction between those two. He's going to act that way, one way or the other. But by doing it for Krishna, now it's a transcendental spiritual activity in service of the Lord. But doing that same activity, not conscious of Krishna and not doing it for Krishna, then you become entangled in it.
And you cause problems for yourself and everyone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Any last? Thank you, Nishri Prabhu.
I just wanted to take the opportunity to wrap it back to what this Mataji was speaking about, like trying to enhance one's own personal qualities, like self-development. It's like that's the difference between like the personalist and the impersonalist. The impersonalist is making himself better to attain cities. It's not really for God, but the Vaishnav, the devotee, is being the best that he can or she can for the sake of being in service to God. Yeah.
So you have influence. Your circle might be the world, like King Vena, or you might have a little influence where at least you can try to influence your own attitude or your own senses. But either way, if it isn't for whatever influence you have, if it's for materialistic purposes, you cause nothing but problems for yourself and for others. But if you move your head towards the Lord and start to serve Him, that whatever influence you have starts to become a positive. It starts to, the supreme positive, the supreme, the supreme purpose, the supreme Lord's purpose. And so you can find yourself happy, and you can find other people starting to become happy. I wanted to put a little asterisk right here, because we often put an emphasis on happiness. I'm not saying that sadness won't come. I'm saying that hard times don't come. But you'll see the way you go through it is a totally different experience. You'll see it as sadness no longer becomes the sadness of what you saw when you were a materialist. It becomes a different kind of sadness. And there becomes a certain amount of joy and happiness even in that sadness, which is uncomprehendable to a materialist. But I know you are all devotees and you understand a little bit of what I'm saying. That you can feel these negative emotions, and yet you're still enthusiastic and living life in a full, your fulfillment of life is just rising and rising and rising. And that's because Krishna is in your heart. He says, I got you taken care of. Just keep moving forward. I'll end there. It's 8:33. Mother Kunti, did you have something you wanted to say? I was feeling.
Thank you for a beautiful class.
Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
King Vena ki. No.
No. Boo. Boo. King Vena, boo. Jai.
Enthusiastic job. I mean, he's in the Bhagavatam, right?
Gundicha Marjanam is wonderful. Just by doing a tiny bit of cleaning, you clean your heart. So please, everybody, try to put in 5-10 minutes, hours, whatever amount of time you can spend.
Hare Krishna.